Well, I know this is probably going to be very early for some people. As of right now, I kind of just woke up at 1 a.m. in the morning and I thought I was looking over at YouTube comments from some of the people that support my channel, along with some of the people that like the Falcon, the Falcon, the Fighting Falcon. Yes, we do Fighting Falcons. You could fucking tell I just woke up. Oh my god. Faction fights. God, you could tell I woke up just now. But yeah, I was reading through some of my comments and I found the literal best idea for a faction fights video in the world. Well, so far. It made me watch a movie that I had no idea existed called Battleship. If you guys have not seen that movie, please, for the love of God, see that movie. It is actually much better than I thought it would be. It is. I'm just going to explain the plot. I'm not going to explain anything else. Basically, it's these dudes who get trapped, dudes and dudettes get trapped on a battleship during a first contact from an alien race called the Regents. And this alien race only lives underwater. So they have really good naval combat, but they suck at ground combat. And they just get annihilated by most of Earth's forces. I expected it to be, more evenly matched on land. Nope. Earth's forces just beat the living tar out of them. It's not even close. So I learned that was only a scout force that was sent to Earth. I want to know what would happen if the Regents just decided to invade the United Planets. Who would come out on top? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot of things. We're going to find out a lot of things that come off. So looking at a lot of the fandom stuff right now, I'm looking at it right now. It says here that their homeworld is planet G. It's a dark, cold, barren, water-like, devoid of sunlight world. They're omnivores. They're sapient, meaning as they're very intelligent. And they are a tall mammalian species that appear humanoid. They're bipedal, wear dark armored suits with bronze gold highlights on top of a skin-tight suit. There are 4 digits in each hand, minuscule ears, green eyes with like pupils, flat faces, a porcupine-like bristle on their chin, and green gold flecked eyes that are extremely sensitive to bright light. They also have 2 extra nostrils beneath their eyes. That is basically what they are, but it doesn't tell me a lot on their homeworld, and better yet, what planet G is. So I'm going to search up planet G right now. I'm going to search up, first thing, as I've always needed to know, is their population. Now, noting that the fact that they are much taller, much more bigger than the humans on Earth, which are about the same size as humans on the United Planets. As you already know, their universe is on average smaller, but the reality is that there's so many more people, variation in height is just there. So that's why it's so low, but yet there's going to be a lot of people that are average height, if not taller. And it is that major reason. What would happen if those exact aliens, the Regents, invade the United Planets? Who would come out on top? Now, this is going to be a little bit hard to do because there's not a lot of information on the Regents. So I'm going to do the best I can to make sense of this. And the first thing I want to do is figure out the fandom of the Regents. A Regent thug and a Regent squad on patrol are completely different. The technologies and the types of Gurnonian Regents, which are basically like garrison guys, technology, the spaceships that can take them from one star to another, plus many other advances including cybernetics, robotics, energy weapons, advanced scanners, and even the ability to disrupt EM waves. So they sound pretty advanced. So we're going to see what happens when a major battle group attacks the United Planets. Who would win this attack? Better yet, would the United Planets be able to not only hold that attack, but completely reroute it? Well, today we are going to find out, and I can explain to you step by step on what would happen if a war between the United Planets and the Regents would occur. The first thing that we need to talk about is numbers. Who has the bigger population and who has the better ability to draw that population? This is hard to answer, but knowing how big their homeworld is, I'm looking at it now, it says it is approximately 1.03 times the size of Earth. So if I add that in, I've calculated surface area and everything, I learned that they'd only be able to house about 6 to 7 billion at maximum. There is no over, there is no that. But due to the fact they live in the ocean, it's going to be harder to realistically depict just how much food they eat. And considering they eat both plants and animals, what that means is they're going to have a mixed diet. So there's possibly going to be more of them than I expect. So I would probably say 8 to 9 billion of them at maximum. 10 billion would be stretching it. So that's what we're going to go with. That immediately means with a realistic or the higher end conservative value, numbers still go to the United Planets, almost 2 to 1. So that automatically reduces the Regents' ability to fight equipment. This is going to be a tough one, but I figured out who would win in this fight, especially with equipment. It is actually close, very, very close. But as scary as it sounds, the United Planets leads a nearly 5,000 year edge in technology. They have shielding. They have weapons that go directly through shielding. They now have countermeasures to those weapons that go through shielding. And now there's countermeasures to those countermeasures. Comparison to the aliens who have no idea of what they're about to head into, this is going to be a field day for the United Planets infantry. This could be a field day. Comparison. Equipment would definitely go to the United Planets into a solid. It's solid. Compare damage. We've seen the damage of their weapons, and yikes, it's not a lot. A singular battleship took out a singular battleship took out a scout craft. Even if that scout craft was weaker, ships would need to have lighter armor in order to breach atmosphere. Anything heavy like a battleship, and it would snap in half. So I can presume that if a battleship gets a good shot in from Earth's battleships, imagine what a United Planets battleship or carrier would do. It would wreck it. It would basically terrify it. So if the United Planets manages to get any inflicting damage, it's over. So that immediately puts comparison damage to the United Planets. Cost efficiency. To us, we do not know if it costs them anything to build those ships, because it even said during the movie that their ships are made out of a material that is not on the periodic table. So that means it could be much more efficient per cost than us, because they may not use money like we do. So their version of cost efficiency is how many people did it take to build this or make this material, and how many people did it take to get these resources. And I think it has to go with cost efficiency here to the Regents. That's pretty useless. Discipline, that easily goes to United Planets. If you've actually witnessed the movie, what happens is whenever whenever the scouts and even one of the battleships gets hit, those ships everyone in that crew just panics. You don't see it, but if you paid attention to the tiny details, they panic. Like their fingers are going everywhere trying to figure out what the fuck just happened. So that already tells you how much discipline they have, which is nothing. Morale. Who has the bigger morale in this fight? And I actually have to say it is the Regents. Just because you have the lower or higher morale does not mean that you are not ready to fight. Just because they have more morale does not mean they're capable of fighting, period. And I think that is going to matter a lot in this fight. This may matter during how stupid maybe some of their actions are. This will determine a lot in their strategy, along with the United Planets and their strategy. But in the beginning of the war, they will have morale boosted higher than ever before. So we are now going to move on to the X factor, the environment, allies, and weather, to name a few. This one, there's no contest who it goes to. United Planets, they know their own oceans, they know their own territory. The Regents are going to be in a hostile world with an environment that will kill it, that kills anyone that dares to exit the ocean. Because as much as it sounds like a universally peaceful place, the planet is still home to hostile bacteria that could easily get into their systems and just choke them out and kill them. Not a matter of minutes, in seconds, because that type of bacteria they are not used to. And the difference between United Planet suits and their suits is that the United Planet suits are depressurized. Not only that, but United Planet's gravity is going to be stronger. So it means people on their world will be 1.3 times stronger than on Earth. And what's funny I found was that a human literally beat up a Regent. Not just a Regent thug, which those guys are said to be the toughest of the tough, and they got beat up by a fucking human. Not only that, a human that served in the military and is now a cripple. He got beat up by a cripple. Come on, man. That's a bunch of... I don't know if that's a bunch of bullshit, but that is fucking hilarious in my opinion. He got fucking beat up by a cripple. If he gets beat up by a cripple, imagine how bad he'd get beat up by a normal military guy. He wouldn't last 2 seconds. He really wouldn't last 2 seconds. Even if their skill is beyond the charts against Earthlings, they won't last 2 seconds in a hand-to-hand combat. Because United Planet soldiers are trained in dozens of martial arts and self-defense tactics. They would not stand 10 seconds in a ring with the United Planet's Marine or Ranger. I'm just putting that out there. No way. So the X Factor definitely goes in the United Planet's hands. And if they just need a way to kill the forces immediately, just spawn a hurricane or somehow get a tsunami and just wipe out the fleet. It is possible. So with the weather drone, they could basically create a thunderstorm over the ships and just make lightning strike them. That's how easy it is. So for them, our X factor is going to matter. Maintenance. Who has a higher maintenance? Looking at both the United Planets and the Regents, I'm actually saying maintenance goes to the Regents. They have a lot more weapons per ship. They have a lot more weapons. I'm just going to put that out there right now. They have a lot more weapons. Rockets, mini rocket pods. They have bombs that you can literally twirl up and whatever the fuck those things were in the movie and just yeet them at people. They also had tiny little bombs that you would just throw, and if it hits the ship, it pops up and boom. So these things had more weapons than a fucking super carrier, which only has 4 types. Railgun, a distribution cannon, which basically destroys shields very easily. A railgun, normal cannon, like normal tank style cannon, fire shells, along with an electric fuser, which an electric fuser, if you don't know, is basically, imagine a lightning gun, but on a turret, which is basically a making of one of the older prototype weapons, one of the prototype lightning weapons on the ship. So yeah, now those weapons drain, 2 weapons drain the shields, while 2 types of weapons hit the armor. But now there's a 5th one added that's called a proton torpedo, which has been recently added. That thing is dangerous. A Regent ship would get destroyed by a proton torpedo. Their fleets would be just destroyed. There would be no way for them to win a conflict where you could just destroy their ships in 1 torpedo. So let us continue. Economy. Who has a stronger economy? Well, I don't think it's the Regents. And I think that is a very, very far from that. They do not have the economy. And I also say they don't have the resources to fight either. So the Regents are not looking too good right now. They only have 3. That's not good at all. This already shows you who's going to win the fight, even if everything else works out. Who has technological research? Tech research is the speed in which you research things, and as scary as it sounds, the Regents do not hold that advantage. I'm literally running out of room for the United Planets because it's so much. This is a one-sided battle, but it shows you just how badly they get beaten. But territory, industrial capacity, I can't even write anything else. And like that's how bad it is. I have to literally like squeeze out territory for the United Planets here. The industrial capacity goes to the United Planets along with fucking territory. So here's what the United Planets has. Numbers, equipment, comparison of damage, discipline, X factor, economy, resources, tech research, territory, and industries. What do the Regents have? Cost efficiency, morale, and maintenance. That's all they got. So this is not a very hard battle to decide who fucking wins. They don't have the resources, they don't have the manpower, they don't even have the industries to continue this conflict. My final verdict is a United Planets victory. Not just any, but a major United Planets victory. 9.5 times out of 10. It means every 20 times, 19 of those are going to be a victory. The chances of them actually winning the conflict are greater than that of the Regents winning on Earth. Not only that, 5 times over. 5 times over. That's insane. It shows you that even though this was a one-sided battle, so here's what's going to happen in stage 1. Here's what happens in stage 1. The scouting party immediately comes in towards the planet of Lattice. It's immediately intercepted 3 seconds after it's found. That's how quick. Why is it intercepted? Because the ships that are constantly on patrol around the planet, one of the supercarriers spots it and immediately zaps it. It's gone. None of those 3 ever managed to get to the planet. After losing contact with the scouting fleet, the difference between this and now, between the original movie, is that those scouting parties were still in contact. And after they were destroyed, a cleaning party was up to check out the wreckage. That was destroyed as well. That didn't last 10 seconds either. So now a battle group was sent to Lattice, and one of the largest battles to ever exist occur with the United Planets ruins the entire fleet. The end. That is literally how quick they are to die. Well, let's say the fleet wasn't out and they're all sitting in harbor and they somehow managed to get past the iron shield of over 1,100 guns that could snipe them at any second. Maybe they think that this is a peace offering and it somehow goes bad. Well, what happens then? Every single carrier, every single amphibious assault vessel across the planet is now launched against these invaders. And within 10 days, those invaders are completely annihilated. All 10,000 of them gone. Suffering little to no losses at all. I'd say the United Planets would suffer maybe how many losses? How many troops? Gone. The aliens would lose so much of their ships that they'd either leave before they lose 10,000 ships and the rest of their fleet, or they die there. Basically, possibly hundreds of thousands to millions are killed on the planet. That is how bad they're beaten. There's no way I see them winning this fight. Unless the United Planets is so stupid, they let all of this happen, and they let them land troops and do all this stuff. The fact that even if they land troops, I really just don't see them winning in a long-term war. If the United Planets try to get the war as long as possible and continue it, I don't see I really don't see the Regents winning. I think the only way they could win this fight is if the United Planets was so careless. They just didn't care about winning the war. That's it. That's all there is. They wouldn't even need conscripts. They wouldn't even need any of that. They could just use the military they already have. It would just be a tiny conflict. To them, it's nothing. But to the Regents, it'd be a little fight for their life. That's how it would be. I don't know why people thought that this was such an even fight when in reality it is one-sided beyond it's just becomes such a boggled down fight that everyone thought it's like, oh yeah, maybe the Regents have a chance. No, they really don't. And soon I'm actually going to do another video that will also occur today, probably not very far from now. What would happen if the Super Saiyan race fights a war against the United Planets? But there's going to be some rules to even out the fight a bit, because obviously you probably would know who would win this fight before it began. And it's kind of obvious the Saiyans would if they had their fucking powers. It's obvious they would. But we're going to say something, and we're going to do something a little different for that one. And I hope you guys are prepared for that video, because it's going to come up right after this one. So don't watch that one until you watch this one. I love doing this video because I actually watched the movie. It was so good. I actually loved the video. I love that movie because when you actually use proper naval techniques, dropping port anchor, dropping the left side of I was like, wow, these guys actually put time and effort into this movie. They could have just said drop port anchor and the anchor on this side goes. No, they actually dropped the proper anchor for the side. I was like, okay, you've done some research. Then you have Liam Neeson, one of my favorite actors. I was like, oh my God, no. That's one of my favorite movies I think I'll ever watch that involves alien invasions. I was like, wow. I did not expect it to be that good. And using the USS Missouri too, you've hit the history marker, you've hit the actor marker for me. I said that movie is like a 9.7 out of 10. There's only a handful of things I'd change. But even then, knowing how it ended up, I wouldn't change it. So I'm just going to stick with the 9.7 out of 10 for that movie. I hope you guys watched that movie. I will put the movie name in chat. Battleship, that's all it is. It actually is a reminder of the game Battleship, if you know what I mean. So thank you guys so much for watching. And if in case you like the series, comment down below on what you want next, because next video, I think you guys love this very much. I will see you all in the next video when the Saiyans fight the United Planets.